Now we're ready to begin our pleating technique, but you'll notice that around the front of the hairline we get somewhat of a curve. Our first foil will actually need to be in more of a horizontal section here, so we'll actually create a straight line or horizontal line just in the front of the fringe area. If we're working with a client that has a hard line or has a definite fringe area, we'll certainly want to do this as well. Now that we've got our first foil packet in, we can now start on the right hand side or the left hand side if you prefer, but we'll be using more of a diagonal type of pattern. Our first diagonal pattern will come just in the corner of our triangle, and what we'll be doing is actually working towards the middle of our very first foil. So once we reach the middle of our first foil, we'll switch sides and then start our foil pattern on the opposite side with more diagonal foils. With this particular technique, you can use a weave or a slice. You can also use a lightener or various shades and tones of colors to create the effect that you're looking for. I am leaving hair out in between the foils, and I'm working on about 1/4 of an inch section in between each foil. This would be my last foil on the right hand side before I flip sides and start working on the left hand side, working towards the middle of the foil. Now the last foil is done, I'll actually flip sides and begin my diagonal foil on the left hand side, working up not so much to the middle of our middle foil here, but working towards the middle of our last foil on the right hand side. Now we're beginning on our left hand side. I've subsectioned the corner out just a little bit because I want the hair closest to the face to give us a little bit of contrast so that our highlights overhang that and will give us a nice contrast between the light and the dark color. Now as you can see, I'm in the middle of my middle foil on our left hand side, but I want to continue working up to the middle of our right-handed foil. This way it gives us more of a crossover or flip over type of technique, and there won't be a hard line of demarcation or a visible line of seeing the pattern that we're actually placing in our foils here. It's very similar to the zipper technique, however it's more focused in the front area as well as the fringe. This will be the last foil that I place on this side, and then we'll flip sides and work back across the top of the head coming from the right hand side. Now remember, as we work towards the top of the head, we are working in a triangle section, so our sections are going to get a little bit smaller as far as the width goes, and I'll only need to place about 2 foils here before I flip sides again and work back across to the top, because I want to work 2 foils in that will be ending at the middle of our last foil on the left-handed side. If your section was a little bit larger as far as our original triangle section, then we may need to flip back and forth to the sides a few times. But for this, as you can see, I only have a little bit of hair left, and I'll actually begin to work that back, going past the middle of this foil right up into the top of the head, or the top of where our triangle was. That's the last foil for this particular technique, and as you can see, we only used about 10 to 12 foils here for this technique.